A human life is sacred. It is sacred in its being born. It is sacred in its living. It is sacred in its dying. A human life remains sacred by our remembering. Jacen's life remains sacred by our remembering. Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Tim Kutzmark, and on behalf of the members and friends of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno, I welcome you to this celebration of life. I'm aware that the last time that some of us gathered in this sanctuary together, it was on a day of joy, Lucas and Jamie's wedding. Jacen was part of that day, and Jacen was part of that joy. Today, we gather for another reason. We gather together feeling the unfathomable loss of Jacen. We gather to lift up the name of Jacen Johnson, our beloved son, our beloved grandson, our brother, our nephew, our classmate, our bandmate, our student, our gaming buddy, our friend. We're here to place Jacen's life in our enduring memories and to celebrate with warmth and with affection his cherished days among us. This afternoon, this room is filled with so many different emotions, and you have permission to feel whatever is moving in your heart, be it sadness, heartbreak, disbelief, anger, overwhelm, numbness, and perhaps a deep emptiness that no words will ever express. Jacen's death was unexpected and accidental. He was gone so suddenly from our midst. We had no chance to say goodbye, to say we love you, to tell him one last time what a joy he has been and what a difference he's made in our lives. This leaves within us a sense of aching incompleteness. But dear ones, know this truth. Jacen and who Jacen was can never leave us. The brightness of his presence, the delight of his playfulness, the depth of his caring, the strength of his compassion, and the warmth of his love, these are ours always, interfused with our thought and blended with our lives. In this way, Jacen lives on within us. Joe Miller writes, although we can't say with certainty what will happen to us when we die, we know that we are part of a great stream of life that began long before we were born and will flow on long after we die. We share immortality in our connections to the universe, and through the small, unique ways we change the world as we live in it. Annalise, Lucas, and Jamie each describe Jacen as a seeker of truth. He had an ever-expanding curiosity about people, things, and life. He was an insistent questioner and a big, big thinker. He was innately inquisitive and sought to learn more and sought to understand more and more. After Jacen's death, Annalise found a notebook in which Jacen had written a few of his favorite passages from Proverbs, including, "Blessed are those who find wisdom, those who gain understanding. if you turn your ear to wisdom and apply your heart to understanding, then you will understand what is right and just and fair. For wisdom will enter your heart, and knowledge will be pleasant to your soul. Jacen cared about others and was empathic to a degree far beyond his years. He was, as Annalise said, an old soul. He was protective of his friends and a pillar for his sister and brother. Jacen was good. Jacen was kind. He was sometimes scatterbrained and always a compassionate, passionate, competitive player and gamer. Annalise, you shared a memory that you felt captured part about what was so special about Jacen. The family had been living in close quarters, which required siblings Jacen, Catherine, and Rowan to share a bedroom together, even though Jacen was years older than his two siblings. When the family got ready to move to a bigger place, Jacen found out that he was going to get his own bedroom just to himself. No more sharing it with the little ones. On the day of the move, Jacen was excited and started down the hallway to see his own room for the first time. But before he got there, he passed the doorway of the other bedroom and saw that Catherine and Rowan were both inside that room. Instead of moving on to claim his own room, his own space, Jacen stopped. He went into Catherine and Rowan's bedroom to spend time with his siblings. To him, they were what mattered most in that moment. There's so much to Jacen and his meaningful life. And today's celebration of life is our time to remember how our lives have been touched by Jacen. This is a time to tell stories and share memories. It's a time to cry and a time to laugh. This is a time to feel grateful for having shared the journey with him. This is our time to celebrate the kind, playful, friendly, fun-loving, reliable, compassionate, and thoughtful life that was Jacen Johnson. And so in that spirit, I invite Jacen's dear friends, Will and River, to come forward onto the chancel to light a candle to honor Jacen's life. Are they here today? Yes.
Jason's. I have the honor today, in honor of Jacen, to recite the Jedi Code for you all, which you can also find in your things. There is no emotion, there is peace. There is no ignorance, there is knowledge. There is no passion. There is serenity. There is no chaos. There is harmony. There is no death. There is the Force. May the Force be with you, Jacen. Always.
So while I could still string a thought together, I want to start today by giving thanks. We want to give thanks to everyone that made it out today, whether it be here in person, watching on the internet, or even if you're watching this at a later time. Thank you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno and Reverend Tim, the streaming crew, the food service crew, and anyone helping set up, work, or tear down today. The use of these facilities and the facilitation of this event have taken an immense load off of me and Jamie. Jamie, Annalise, and myself want to give special thanks to my sisters Angela Ahmed, Olivia Cervantes, and the Mason family of Candace, Greg, and Luna. Those three have taken upon themselves to take the bulk of logistics and planning for everything since September. Jamie and I went through loss and planning ourselves a year ago with her father's passing, and we truly know how much work goes into those logistics. And in a time right now where, frankly, I don't think we'd have been able to make any of this possible. So, thank you for that. And we will be forever thankful for the load, the immense load that was taken off of us. I would like to thank Jamie and my wedding party and the Standring family, who have been checking in here for us day in and day out to make sure the basics are being taken care of us. And then to all our friends, family, co-workers, and people who have just been kind and supporting us, thank you so very much. We have overall never felt more loved and supported in our lives, and it makes bearing this grief and tragedy seem possible. Jacen was one of the best people I ever met. I know as his dad, I may seem to be a little bit biased, but I've told many of you over the years, every parent has to love their kid, but I had the immense pleasure and joy of liking my kid as well. He was a cool guy, funny, with a dry sense of humor crafted by his experiences. Kind beyond measure, empathetic, intelligent, hardworking, determined, curious, accepting, and just plain good. I always counted myself blessed to have him specifically as my son. But he was a person of many hats. He lived significant time in 3 separate households, each with their own rules, belief systems, value structures, sometimes those structures being in conflict. But he navigated all of that brilliantly. His hobby and activity groups varied greatly. He loved school band was a huge part of his life. Church groups, Dungeons and Dragons with friends, and publicly even here in Fresno. Robotics, Pokemon TCG tournaments, Lorcana tournaments, online board games, and just recently he started at the community band here locally in Clovis. He was just the kind of people that, kind of person that just people love to hang out with. That was just him. He was both conservative and liberal, spiritual and logical, and he took every issue independently of another one. Something I just greatly respected about him. He loved to discuss and academically debate. I'm sure a ton of people in this room have had the pleasure of being between 2 Jacen hypotheticals. I loved that he was his own person, and he walked to the beat of his own drum. He was a Renaissance man, striving for knowledge in all things, and I think most of all, I was a fan of his capacity for love. He never made me feel unwanted. He always told me how much he loved me and appreciated me, and I don't feel any anxiety at all about my son's thoughts about me, both now and before, because he let me know in all the best ways how much he loved me. And I know I wasn't the only person he did that to. That's among his greatest gifts to me, and something that I'll take with me ever. Wanted today to be a celebration of life for Jacen, to give everyone between now and lunch afterwards a forum to share great stories in public or in private, to share how he touched your life, because that's who he was. He was a person that touched lives. He loved people, loved everyone. I remember the very first time I met him, just forever seared in my brain, and I walked in, and the very first thing I remember is looking at him and immediately seeing the smile on his face. And that energy, it never changed. He changed me for the better. He made me want to be the best version of myself so I could be the best version of myself for him. So later in the celebration of life, as Reverend Tim was talking about, we'll have an opportunity to share some memories of Jacen. His friends and family appreciate you sharing those memories, as our memories define us. We are who we are because they exist. And thank you for sharing yours. Life here on this planet's short. We're not guaranteed any time. And I'm so thankful I told Jacen exactly how I felt. I told him all the time, how much I loved him, how proud I was of him, and how much I accepted him, whoever and whomever he was. There's so much division in this world that gets pushed towards us. Don't lose sight of the things that bring us together, that bring happiness. Jacen didn't, and that's probably one of the greatest lessons he taught me. Call your friends, tell them how much they mean to you. Hug those you care about. Take pictures and videos to remember the good and great times for all time. Tell the ones you love how deeply you love them and treasure every single moment you have with them.
Thank you for that, Reverend Tim. I'm significantly shorter than my husband. I am a person whose life has been defined by my ability to put words together in a way that makes sense. But what can I say about something like this? What can I say about the echoing sadness of a young life cut far too short? I think all I can do is just tell you a bit about Jacen and the kind of person he was. He was kind. He was so smart. He loved grape soda, although God knows why. He loved cheeseburgers, and he was incredibly picky about how they were made. He had a great cheeseburgers of my life ranking that we were constantly updating. He loved so deeply, and he wore his heart on his sleeve. He loved music, his family, and his friends, and he loved learning and experiencing life. He could and did make friends with anyone. Jacen had the sweetest soul I had ever encountered. He was always curious, always seeking, always looking to further form the person who was Jacen. He was, as all teenagers are, a work in progress. And I was so deeply excited to see what the final form would look like at 20, at 40, at 60. I had plans for his high school graduation, for his first day of college, for a date night dinner when he brought someone special home to meet Lucas and I. He was the king of hypothetical questions, as his dad said. He'd spring them on you all the time. What would you do if you traveled back in time and got stuck? What president would you most like to have dinner with? If you had to fight 40 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck, which one would you pick? He made me laugh so much, and he also made me try very, very hard to be the best stepmom I could possibly be to him. He made me want to be the best because he always gave his best to everyone he loved. If Jacen loved you, you knew it. I will miss him as long as I live, and I will always try to be the best I can be for him for when we meet again someday. I'd like to end by sharing a favorite quote about grief from writer Anne Lamott. You will lose someone you can't live without, and your heart will be badly broken. And the bad news is that you never completely get over the loss of your beloved. But this is also the good news. They live forever in your broken heart that doesn't seal back up, and you come through. It's like having a broken leg that never heals perfectly, that still hurts when the weather gets cold, but you learn to dance with a limp. May we all learn to dance with a limp. May we all take the love that Jacen gave us and pay it forward to others all of our lives. I love you so much, Jacen.
As Lucas said, for Jamie and for Lucas, the most important part of this celebration of life are your stories, your memories. This is what they want and need to hear at this time. So in a moment, I'm going to set up a mic right here on the floor, And if you would like to share a brief story or memory, or just share how Jacen touched your life and changed your heart, this will be the time to do that. And I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of do, if you want to speak, just give a wave of your hand and I'll invite you to come up.
I really don't want to speak because, as you can see, I'm having trouble making words. But I know I would not be okay with not sharing stories about Jacen. Yeah, the hypotheticals, I can reiterate that. The fact that if Jacen loved you, you knew it. It was not ever a question. And you'd sit and he would just show up at our house, whether it be Candace knowing about it and me not, and you're just like, wait, why is, okay, what's going on, buddy? But the story that I want to tell, and a lot of you have probably heard it, is the first time that Jacen and I hung out. Well, Lucas went to work. Lucas and I were roommates for a long time. Matt lived in the house also. They were both at work, and me and Jacen just were hanging out at the house. And it was probably like 11 or 12 years old. And Lucas gave him a rule that he could only have 5 popsicles all day. Jacen was a great kid, but he was still a kid. And he thought he was getting away with one. Thought I was asleep in my room when he was still playing video games on his dad's computer. And you hear, and 15, 20 minutes later, this happened a few times, and I finally was like, oh, I guess I'll let him know that I'm awake. So the next time I heard his little feet pitter-patter down the hallway, I yelled from my bedroom, Jacen? Yeah? What are you doing? Well, I'm getting a popsicle. How many popsicles are you supposed to have today? Well, 5. How many is this? Well, 5, I guess. And he didn't have another one until Lucas got home and bent the rules for him. But that was exactly who he was. He was gonna be a kid, but when you called him out on it, he was honest, he was upfront, and he was willing to listen once you gave him a rule. And he will be greatly missed. Love you, buddy.
Please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kyle. A longtime friend of Lucas and Jamie's, and Jacen as well. We've been friends for a long time, but we've been very fortunate to have a very regular, long-standing Dungeons & Dragons games on Monday nights. And throughout the years, as Jacen has kind of come to town, at least once a year, as Lucas and many have said, he was a big fan of Dungeons & Dragons as well. So he would play with us when he would come to town. And it was kind of a weird thing sometimes because we'd be in the middle of a particular game or whatever. Okay, what are we going to do, when Jacen comes? Because, at sometimes when we started, he was probably like 10 years old, and sometimes you got to kind of change the topic of whatever you're doing for that. And he would always come up with some of the weirdest ideas, which he would get from, I think, pretty sure from his dad. This is Dungeons and Dragons, so we're talking about knights and wizards. And Jacen would show up. He's like, "Yeah, I made a space marine." We're like, "Okay, sure, we'll make that work." And so one year, we decided it would be fun, instead of trying to change our game for him, if he ran a game for us. And I think at the time he might have been like 11 or 12 years old, and we're like, this will be funny, right? It's like a little kid, and he's going to run our game. It should be fun. And so he shows up and he starts running his game, and he's ruthless. Like, he has created this very difficult, almost impossible to win scenarios for us. And so we were in the middle of this battle, and some of my fellow buddies are here will know what story this is, because we still tell it all the time because it's so funny. And we're in the middle of this very difficult fight, and I think one of our players, Thomas, who's here today, he was unconscious, dead and dying. And it's not looking good for us. We're like, how did he expect us to win this? And all of a sudden, this character that Jacen had created bursts into the scene and saves us all from this unwinnable situation. And so after that, we had to abandon Thomas, his character, behind. And afterwards, we were kind of giving him some little bit of criticism, like, Jacen, what were we supposed to do there? You created this. And he's like, well, I came in and saved you all, didn't I? And Thomas is like, you didn't save me. And Jacen was like, well, that's too bad. And so that is just a story I wanted to share on behalf of our kind of gaming group. We always enjoyed our different times when Jacen would come, very memorable and unique experiences. And that's a story we still tell all the time, and it's a story we'll continue to tell. So just wanted to share that with everybody. Thanks.
I'm Uncle Ken, Jacen's great uncle, and my wife, Liz, is his great aunt. Annalise is my niece. About 6 weeks ago, Lucas agreed to let Jacen spend a day with us up in Oakhurst. And my son, his cousin Andrew, was busy, so Jacen rode with me in my truck. I'm a chimney sweep, kind of an unusual occupation, but I've done it for 40 years. And Jacen rode with me. We did the first job. I showed him how to take the ladder down, how to set up the vacuum and tools, and we get to the second job, and by the time I'm out of the truck, he's already taken the ladder off the truck. The next thing I see, he's on the roof. He's taking the cap off. I really didn't have to do much of anything. His initiative was amazing. It was just a fun day for his great uncle to spend with him. And I just want you to all know, he shared with me, I don't think coincidentally, how much he loved his family and how much he loved all of his friends. And he had never done that before. But he shared that with me, and I just wanted you to know that. Okay.
I'm River. I was Jacen's best friend. He was definitely my closest friend. I trusted him with my life. If he saw my condition right now with the makeup running, he would first console me, ask me what was wrong, and then he would laugh at me and be like, why are you such a mess? And what I wanted to say is Jacen literally saved my life. I was in a very dark place about a year ago, to the point where I needed like medical help. And I was in such a dark place that I was feeling extremely suicidal. And he made a sacrifice of losing my friendship because he knew I was going to be mad at him for telling my family, but he told them anyway, and he quite literally saved my life. I don't know if I would be here if he hadn't done that. I don't think I would be here if I didn't have him.
Hi everyone, my name's Anthony. I've known Lucas for a long time, and admittedly, I've only met Jacen when he moved here in the summer, in June, I believe. And I've never done this, so you have to bear with me, because every time I've thought about it, I've never done it, I've regretted it. But I work at Lucas and Jacen, what became their regular hobby store, Crazy Squirrel Game Store. And I remember when we were coming up to this, Lucas was telling us how excited he was, that finally Jacen's going to be able to share in all the things he enjoys together at the store. They were going to play games together. They were going to be there weekly, play D&D, play Magic, play whatever Jacen loved together. And working there, I see a lot of the same people all the time. And you never really think about it from my perspective, right? You go in, you're like, hey, here to play a game. You go sit down, you have fun. But for us, the people who work there, we see you all the time. And one of the biggest things, I don't think, now looking back at it, I don't think I ever saw Jacen there without a smile on his face. And Lucas and them would come in, and sure, they had played different games, but every time if Lucas had to leave, Jacen would stay and play for fun and share in all those games he wanted. And I don't think I ever saw him without a smile or without, after the games, he didn't just pick up his stuff and leave. He would stay there and talk to all the players, and he'd hang out and trade and do all the fun stuff that he loved. And if there's anything that I look back on now, I might not have known Jacen the best, but I definitely saw how much love and joy that relationship Lucas and Jacen shared, and how much fun they had just hanging out and playing games. And if there's anything that I think you guys or anyone should share with Lucas, it's just remember that those moments together are the most important, of just sitting down, talking, playing a game, are what brought the biggest smiles to both of them. And I don't think I saw that in any other group I've seen come in lately. And for sure, the first time I saw and was introduced to Jacen, I thought, that's definitely Lucas's son. I met them and I went, yeah, 100%. So, thank you guys for being a part of our store, Lucas, and thank you for bringing your son around. I'm sure he made a big difference to all the D&D groups, the Pokemon groups, everyone he met.
Hi everyone, I'm Jacen's auntie Olivia, Lucas's sister. I have a couple of Jacenisms. He's, I was close to Jacen and we would have a lot of great chats, and whenever he was faced with anything, he would always quote his dad. He would say, the best revenge you can have is just to live a good life. And I love that perspective, you know, he's such a wise young soul. And then the other one was just burgers. That was Jacen's answer for everything. Jacen actually taught me how to play Pokemon. I am not this younger generation, but he taught me step by step. We got the mats out, and it was fascinating to me is whenever I would come to visit, I'm a morning person, and there was Jacen, like all wide-eyed in the morning and making cocoa, and like, what are you doing up? He's like, well you're here. I want to spend time with you. And that's what I loved about Jacen. Like, he would give you the gift of his time. He was just present. And then I was like, okay, well, I want to teach you how to play Mexican Train, because he taught me a game, and I want to teach him a game. And so I was like, yeah, it's kind of like domino, or like Uno, but with dominoes. And he says, and he nods his head like this, and he goes, well, let's get out a YouTube video. And so, because I had only played a couple of times, but Jacen needed me to know step by step how to play. So that's just Jacen. And he talked about his hopes and dreams with me, and I never told him this because I knew he was undecided, but I did actually just, one day when we were together, like, I had a vision of him as like being older and like a naval officer, like if he had this career, and I just know he was just amazing, and I just cherish every moment I spent with him. And I remember when I was here, he would try and create just, what do you want to do, Aunt Olivia? And you can take me to school. I mean, he had just, what I felt blessed was I got to see him, because I came for a week at the end of August, and I got to see him in his new life, and I got to hear him celebrate his life in Illinois, but then see this life he had waited to have with my brother too. And he was always creating space for me to hang out with him and pick me up from school, and he goes, oh, wait a minute. He goes, that's what me and Jamie do. And he just, he was just so thoughtful. And I felt blessed to see him living the life that he wanted to have for so long here. And may the force be with you, Jacen.
Hi everyone, my name is Haley. I had the absolute joy of coaching Jacen's robotics team back in Illinois. He was just such a goofy, fun kid, but I know that the one thing that I remember about him was that anytime he was there, no one was left out. No one was sad, no one was upset, no one was by themselves. He always had joy in the room, and he always just included everyone. I had so many discussions with him as he grew up and decided what he thought about life and politics and theoreticals, and there was never a time that he didn't just love everyone. He was such a joy to coach, and I will miss him greatly.
Lucas and Jamie, your impulse to create the space for these stories was a gift to everyone. It's been said that no one person can ever sum up the life of another, because a person is too multifaceted to be captured with mere words. Rather, it must remain as it is remembered by those who loved, those who shared. For such memories are alive, unbounded by the events of birth and death. It is to each of you, then, that the living memories of Jacen are committed. This is how Jacen lives on. And in that spirit, I invite you to join in our responsive reading, We Remember Him. And I invite you to respond robustly, We remember him. In the rising of the sun and in the setting into night, we remember him. In the crash of the waves and the stillness of the sea, we remember him. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember him. In the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember him. In the fires of competition and in the thrills of victory, we remember him. In a galaxy far, far away, we remember him. In the throw of a Pokeball and evolution of a friend, we remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember him. When we take a bite of a hamburger, a crunch of a popsicle, only 5, or drink anything grape-flavored, we remember him. When someone asks a hypothetical question that makes us think, we remember him. When we see the best in people and love those around us, we remember him. When we have joys and special celebrations we yearn to share, we remember him. So long as we live, he too shall live, for he is part of us as we remember him. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. all of us here on our Alluvial Avenue sanctuary just for a moment to hold in your heart all of Jacen's friends in Illinois, all his classmates, all his bandmates, all the teachers whose lives he's touched, and just hold them in love, in light, or in prayer for just a moment. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. Well, it would not be a celebration of life for Jacen without hamburgers. And so in a moment after I offer the words of release and benediction, Jacen's family would like to invite you to stay for hamburgers and popsicles, only 5, and a time to share, hopefully, more stories and memories. We are going to have a receiving line for Annalise and Lucas and Jamie, and that will be in the entranceway to the church. So I'd ask that you allow them, after the benediction, to have me just walk them and get them into place. And then we'll invite you to pay your respects and then make a left and go right into the courtyard where tables await you. There's also a table set up near a big Pokemon sign where you can write a memory on an index card or a note to Jacen's family, and they will be able to treasure those memories or those thoughts for years and years to come. I'm thinking in honor and in tribute to Jacen's life, let's rise as we are willing and able. And now, into the hands of time, we release Jacen Johnson. Having left us now, he goes free of the earth. He returns to the love from whence he came. Grown lighter than breath, he is set free in our remembering. He is hidden among all that is and cannot be lost. And for us, the living, may our love for Jacen be witnessed, renewed, and strengthened on this day and henceforth in our caring and love for others and for this earth, so that we may be part of the world's hope and not its fear, its love and not its hate. And so we may know in new and deeper ways the great mystery of life that connects us all. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.